Okay, let's dive in. Picture this. One of the absolute richest people on Earth. But his life looks, well, surprisingly normal. No giant yachts, no private island holidays, definitely no gold-plated toilets. We're talking about Warren Buffett, worth over $130 billion. And yet, he's still living in the same pretty modest house he bought way back in 1958, eats simple food, grabs McDonald's sometimes, apparently. And get this, he spends like 5 hours every single day just reading. It just seems completely backwards compared to that flashy billionaire image we see all the time. So the big question we're digging into today is why? Why does arguably the greatest investor ever live like this sort of frugal bookworm?
It really is a fascinating paradox, isn't it? And that's exactly what we're unpacking. Our source material for this deep dive is an analysis we found really insightful from a video on the YouTube channel Top Rich Secrets. It focuses specifically on Buffett's routines and his underlying philosophy.
Right. So our mission here is to explore those insights, to see how these choices, the simple living, the intense reading, aren't just odd quirks. The analysis suggests they might actually be a blueprint, a way to build wealth, sure, but also clarity, purpose. And that feels super relevant for you listening right now, trying to navigate, all the noise out there.
Absolutely. The Top Rich Secrets analysis actually frames his whole approach as this sort of quiet rebellion, a rebellion against the modern pressure cooker of consume more, go faster, be constantly busy, show off your status. It makes you stop and think.
It really does. Challenges your whole idea of what success even looks like. Okay, let's kick off with the house, because seriously, this detail just gets me every time. Over $130 billion in the bank, and he's in the same 5-bedroom Omaha house, bought for, what, $31,500 in 1958?
Yeah, 31.5. It's incredible. No mansions, no penthouses, just that house.
So what's the thinking? What does the analysis say is behind that?
Well, the video analysis really highlights this core principle he seems to live by. If you've got enough, chasing more won't make you happier. It frames it less as just being cheap and more as a deep understanding of, genuine well-being. Buffett, according to this analysis, sees money mainly as a tool for freedom.
Freedom? How so?
The freedom to control his own time, the freedom to think, to invest how he wants, not freedom to just buy more stuff or impress people.
That's such a stark contrast to how wealth usually gets flaunted today.
Totally. So the house isn't seen as a limitation in the analysis, it's a symbol of clarity. He knows his real joy, his fulfillment comes from the intellectual side, the reading, the thinking, the investing, not from, marble floors or gold taps.
Well, not the material stuff.
Exactly. And the video brings up his very direct quote about it. I'm happy there. I'd move if I thought I'd be happier somewhere else.
Wow.
That line, as the analysis points out, is pure emotional intelligence. It's knowing happiness isn't about square footage. It's about living in sync with your values, what actually makes you content.
Knowing when enough is enough. That feels almost radical today, with ads constantly screaming, more, more, more.
It does. And the analysis really argues that this mindset, figuring out what enough means for you personally, is key. Key for lasting wealth, sure, but also inner peace, escaping that whole keeping up with the Joneses trap.
So it's about mastering yourself internally, not just piling up assets externally.
Precisely. So the first big takeaway from the analysis, distilled down, is pretty powerful. Master your desires. Because the richest people, they aren't always the ones with the most. They're the ones who need the least.
Wow. Okay. Powerful stuff. So moving from his physical space to, his mental space.
Yeah.
That reading habit, 500 pages, 5 to 6 hours a day. I mean, that just sounds intense, especially now with our TikTok attention spans.
Yeah.
What does the analysis say he's actually reading, and why? Why is it so fundamental for him?
The analysis mentions newspapers, financial reports, biographies, business books, quite a range, but it's always reading with a purpose, and the why. That's the core of its value. Buffett's logic, as explained in the Top Rich Secrets video, is like this. Information ages like milk, but wisdom compounds like money.
I like that. Milk versus money.
Yeah. He's not just absorbing facts passively, he's actively trying to filter the signal from the noise, sharpening his pattern recognition, building mental models to make better decisions, even with incomplete info.
So he's constantly fine-tuning his judgment, his internal compass.
Exactly. And his famous partner, Charlie Munger, really drove this home. The analysis highlights Munger's quote, "In my whole life, I have known no wise people who didn't read all the time. None. Zero."
None. Zero. That's definitive.
It is. The analysis frames deep reading not just as a nice habit, but as serious leverage. You're basically downloading decades, even centuries of insights and mistakes from others.
Learning from them without paying the tuition fee yourself, essentially.
You got it. It builds perspective, patience, clarity, qualities that seem pretty rare these days.
Feels like a massive competitive advantage in this digital whirlwind we live in.
Absolutely. While everyone else is swiping sideways through fleeting stuff, he's digging deep, vertically, building knowledge that lasts. So the second key lesson from the analysis is crystal clear. Your mind. That's your number one asset. Read every day. Not just to sound smart, but to stay sharp. Because the people who read consistently, they often end up leading.
Okay, changing gears a bit. Another thing the analysis really flags is how much Buffett avoids. Famously doesn't use a smartphone, right? Stays off social media. Keeps his calendar deliberately, almost shockingly, empty. Again, totally countercultural to the whole hustle, always on, always connected vibe.
Right, and the video analysis calls this strategic minimalism. It's not accidental, it's a conscious strategy. It's about saying no a lot. The analysis includes that direct Buffett quote, "The difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything."
Say no to almost everything. That sounds extreme. In a world that pushes you to say yes to everything.
It is extreme. But the analysis presents it as a very calculated, high-impact approach. He engineers his life to cut down distractions. Why? To maximize the quality of his decisions, not the quantity.
So fewer meetings, fewer emails, fewer interruptions.
Exactly. He carves out space, real, dedicated space to read, yes, but also just to think, to let complex ideas sit and develop. The analysis suggests his biggest investment breakthroughs often come from these quiet, focused periods.
So that idea that more input equals better output,
Yeah.
maybe it's flawed.
Often the opposite, according to the analysis. The more noise you let in, the harder it is to hear your own thinking, to spot what truly matters, to act decisively instead of just reacting. The video really questions that whole busyness as a badge of honor thing. It suggests it's often just poor prioritization. Buffett zeroes in on the few vital decisions and just ignores or delegates the rest.
So minimalism here isn't just about fewer sweaters, it's about fewer commitments, fewer distractions.
Precisely. It's strategic minimalism applied to your time and attention, saying no to the 99 trivial things so you can give a powerful yes to the one or two that genuinely move the needle towards your big goals.
Okay.
So the third takeaway from this analysis is sharp. Don't confuse motion with progress. You need to clear the clutter, guard your time fiercely, because focus. It isn't a nice to have anymore. It's your critical edge.
Now, let's try and tie these threads together. The analysis makes this absolutely striking point. Warren Buffett made something like 99% of his fortune after he turned 50. 99%.
Mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is. And the analysis stresses this wasn't some late-life lottery win or sudden genius moment. It was the payoff, the result of his habits finally having enough time to compound like crazy.
That's such a vital insight from the video. It really underscores that his success wasn't one big bang. It was decades of sticking to simple, consistent practices, living below his means, reading constantly, investing with discipline, never stopping learning.
Individually, they sound almost boringly simple.
They do. But repeat them day in, day out, year after year, for 50, 60, 70 years. That's when they become this unstoppable force. It's the power of compounding applied to behavior.
It makes me think of that quote about habits being light at first.
Yes, the analysis brings that in. Chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. And the crucial point is, this works powerfully for good habits too, the intentional ones. Success, in the Buffett model presented, isn't built in giant leaps. It's earned slowly, layer by layer. Choosing the right actions, reading, thinking, investing wisely, and then just consistently showing up and letting time do the heavy lifting.
He really is the ultimate poster child for consistency, for playing the long game, valuing that durability over just being fast.
Absolutely. So the fourth big lesson we get from this analysis is fundamental. Success isn't usually built overnight. It's earned steadily. Through habits so small they might seem insignificant day to day, but practiced so consistently they become absolutely unstoppable over the long haul.
Okay, so wrapping this up, Buffett's life, when you look at it through the lens of this top-rich secrets analysis, it's like a masterclass. It shows how simplicity, discipline, and that deep long-term view can create truly extraordinary outcomes. His choices, the house, the reading, cutting out distractions, building those habits, they weren't about depriving himself. The analysis suggests they were about designing his life, structuring his mind, so success just happened. almost like a natural result.
Yeah, the ultimate takeaway synthesizing the analysis isn't go copy Buffett exactly. You don't have to, move to Omaha and drink Coke all day. It's about mastering yourself, your time, your attention, your desires. The video really frames true wealth in this context, not just as money, but as freedom, clarity, that quiet confidence you get from building something solid, something meaningful from the inside out.
So if you're listening, and you sometimes catch yourself maybe mindlessly scrolling when you meant to read that book, or, buying stuff you don't really need because maybe it feels like you should, or saying, I'll start that good habit tomorrow, and tomorrow keeps slipping away. Maybe this look at Buffett's way is a nudge, a signal for a little reset.
Definitely. The analysis leaves us with that really potent closing thought. Buffett didn't get where he's doing amazing things once in a while. He did simple, fundamental things, consistently, relentlessly, with purpose, for decades.
And the challenge the video analysis kind of lays down for you, the listener, is pretty direct. Start one habit
Yeah.
today, just one.
Yes. Doesn't have to be huge. It could literally be reading 10 pages before grabbing your phone in the morning. Or just, for today, track every single dollar you spend. Write it down. Or maybe block out 15 minutes on your calendar just to sit quietly and think. No phone, no email, just thinking time.
The key isn't perfection first time out. It's just starting, making that first small step.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to begin.
It really circles back to that final thought from the analysis, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This idea that the future belongs to the people who are quietly preparing while everyone else is, distracted.
It really does. Makes you think.
So maybe the question to leave you with today is this. How can you start preparing quietly, starting right now? What's the smallest quiet preparation, the smallest consistent action you can take today that might just compound into something really significant down the road? Something to think about.